this is why I do the things that I do, and why I teach what I teach, and why I continue to pursue things in a very specific way. This is the highest level. If people understood it, all these rich people or very accomplished people, very intelligent people, great sports people would be looking for this, but it's not conceptualized. We cannot dictate the effect, the result, but we can make the effort, and we are busy with the effort, hence it's enough. Whatever enlightenment someone has achieved, whatever awakening, you still go to the toilet. In workshops or in podcasts like this or conversations, they feel threatened, greatly threatened, as if somebody is going to take something from them, where in reality, only things are being provided. Life leads to death, and practice leads somewhere else. Yeah, it's also a religious idea, also. But religious idea is not the highest aspect of it. The highest aspect of it is beyond every definition.
Ido, thank you for making time again to sit with me and have a conversation that will hopefully benefit people that are listening. And I wanted to start acknowledging something because I have known you for 11 years. And through this time, I witnessed your incredible transformation. And this is very admirable because I think people, when they reach certain level of authority or age also, they tend to get really stuck in their way. They solidify their beliefs, they solidify the way they behave in the world. But you are constantly changing. It's almost as every time I see you, it's a new man. And this is something that really inspires me because it shows that this is possible, which people I don't think believe. So I wanted to start with this and let you expand a bit on the importance of it, of how do you maintain this transformation, and anything else you think that is important to say in regards.
First, thank you. Good to have a sit together and to talk. Usually I talk to people who come from outside, so to have someone so close we known each other for more than a decade and spend a lot of time together practicing and sharing, it's on a different level of sharing and conversation that's very precious, and in hopes that it serves the people out there. Yeah, it's a little bit weird to think about this rarity of transformation, because what else is there to do here? What's the point of being here, being alive, whatever that means? And I think that is the core of being here. We are here for practice. We're here for evolution. Again, that word is maybe a bit already abused and damaged, but not in the sense of better, but in the sense of transforming, changing. And then if people are not transforming, then since everything else is transforming, since time is running forward and all these forces are acting upon you and everything changes around, the seasons are changing in nature, then you're in collision. Then if you are not transforming, if you're holding on, you are experiencing undue friction that can also threaten you, break you up, etc. This is the old Heraclitus Pantare, Odin flux. This is the constant change. Yes, there is one thing that does not change itself, transformation itself. So isn't that the core of the practice? Isn't this the core of why are we holding on? We're holding on because of our fears. We're holding on because of habitual mechanical things that get ingrained because of the path of least resistance. It's easier to stay but it is so costly. And that's what I feel and believe.
Is there still any friction inside of you toward the change, even though you're so used to do it and to be in practice?
Of course, if there was no friction inside, I wouldn't have the opportunity to choose it. That it would be mechanical again. So that friction is not something that stops, or sometimes we yearn to continue to change in a way that is not changing. This is again another trap, another trick that we put on ourselves. There is friction, and we even have to let it act upon us. Like that resistance, there is gravity, there is something pulling us down. As I say, the force that is moving downwards is acting upon us. It's a force that makes us very mechanical, very habitual. Everything, we don't want to focus. We don't want to be present. We don't want to be here at the moment. We have to experience that. It will continue to act upon us. We have to look it, we have to smell it, we have to sense it. But we're not giving early. And then the force that is going up is that conscious choice. And that cannot be mechanicalized, automized. That does not gather momentum as other things, or else it would again not be conscious and not be me choosing it.
You mentioned the word evolution before, and in many events, in many lectures, you were talking about the evolution of an individual and then the evolution of the things around us, the world, the universe, however you call it. And you mentioned that these two things, they are encouraging each other. So I think this is something very important. It is the concept that I myself am thinking a lot about. And I believe this is something of use to people to hear, and for you to expand on this idea, it was very powerful, I think.
Yeah, it's not necessarily in collision, but I mentioned that it's in collision because usually it's not conceptualized, that there is a possibility of that. And let's go one layer below to make it very clear. One cell. If a cell evolves, would it be good for the tissue around it? Maybe an evolution of a cell is cancer and metastasis. Maybe evolution of a cell makes it already out of that tissue. If a skin cell becomes upgraded, maybe it's not anymore a skin cell. It becomes something else. So the evolution of the individual is not always the evolution of the tissue, but then the tissue, the collective, when it evolves as a unit. So if my liver evolves, the whole liver evolves, and each cell will change according to the demands of the liver. But if only one liver cell evolves, not necessary. Now, if we take it into our place, the evolution of a single individual human being can be in line with certain aspects of the evolution of humanity, but sometimes against it. Humanity also can evolve in a mechanical way, where it serves something else, or it can evolve consciously, the same as us, as individuals. But evolution will happen. That's why the word evolution does not mean what we think it means. Also, even Darwin himself refused to use the word evolution and actually used it only once in his writings. And he didn't use it because he thought that it is portraying the wrong message, which it does. We think of improvement, but there is no improvement. Improvement for who? To which direction? We have to take care and to realize that we are part of collective, that there is all these forces acting upon us as human beings, as part of the biosphere, as part of the planet. There is all these layers to us. And it's not now is one and now there is another one and they alternate. They happen at the same time. I can experience and watch it inside myself through observation, where I am walking around and my genes are screaming, do this, do that, eat this, fuck this, do that, avoid this, rest, don't do this. And I can experience the whisper coming from another layer of evolution. And then I can hear the inner whisper say, you don't need that. Practice now, even though you're tired, coming from a conscious, different locations. And if I can watch this inside myself and I know what I'm watching, and as we teach it as the practice, inside the various tasks, inside the classes, the official practices, and also inside the unofficial practices, slowly we make an order inside. First, put your house in order. You start to arrange your system and organize your system. Various parts of you are not put together. Various parts are not working together. And we start to evolve in a much deeper sense.
Do you think collectively it's possible to evolve consciously? Because there's nothing seemingly from the level of individual that drives this evolution in any specific direction. So it seems like it only can be inadequate sometimes.
We don't need to bother ourselves with that. And what we don't need to bother ourselves, we shouldn't bother ourselves with. We should really be very disciplined in letting go of these things. What is the reason? Each time you jump a layer from self to human to humanity, you also change watches. Each one has a different time, a different seconds. Seconds become millions of years. 1 second, a million years in the next layer, or 100,000 years. So humanity might evolve consciously, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. We need to bother with ourselves as individuals. And because if you understand that, you understand there is nothing to be busy with. We need so many people to be awakened from the slumber and to practice and to treat life as an opportunity to do that. We're not close to it. Most of humanity is either busy surviving or busy with total bullshit. Waste of time there, waste their time here. And there is a very, very small part that has even the opportunity to engage with it, that is born in the right time, that had the right impression and the right effects and the right influence. And even that, it's not guaranteed that you're going to do anything about it, but at least you have that special timing where it's open for you. And this is why this podcast that we're recording, this conversation, is for very few people. It goes here and it comes out of there. People will not be able to understand. These words don't mean the same thing to everyone. And it's okay because there are equal opportunities. It's open for everyone. Everyone can come and to listen. The question is, do you get touched by it? Do you understand the depth of the messages? Do you understand the opportunity? Do you value your life as this opportunity? Do you get this to the level that you will stop wasting time? And this is not up to us always.
I think many people do feel touched by the message because I see it in workshops you give, in the intensives, in the lectures that we have with online community. I feel people's faces change. There's something in their eyes that changes when they hear that. but then they are not able to go through. This is very intellectual endeavor in many ways, in terms of people in the West especially are so drawn to the idea part of it, that everything that comes after becomes impossible. And this mind-body divide in the Western world is so deeply ingrained into everything, into our language, into our behavior, into the practices that people have. It's all compartmentalized. We don't have any kind of unity in ourselves. So what would you say about this? How is it possible to bridge the gap from listening it, from being deeply punched? I do believe they feel something inside steering, but then they go back home and they're falling back into life immediately.
First, those people that are touched even just intellectually, those are already people who are placed in this specific, unique place. I was talking about people who cannot even intellectually, imagine your aunt or someone, and they can hear the messages and they understand each word, but it doesn't even intellectually. Not because they're not intelligent, it's something else. The meaning, the depth of the meaning is not felt. Then you become touched by it emotionally, not intellectual. It starts intellectually. First level, I understand what you're saying, the words. 2, now comes a different phenomenon that rises inside of what you describe. People's faces change. There is a transformation, and it can be felt emotionally, but also physically, because there is no separation, but you can kind of categorize it intellectually, emotionally, physically. The physical, since it's the last one, is holistically. It points to the next one, which is everything. And that brings me to your question. This is why I do the things that I do, and why I teach what I teach, and why I continue to pursue things in a very specific way. Words are nothing. Their ideas are nothing. Concepts are nothing. They can be something, but you have to convert them. And that is done through action, behavior. That is why the practice should start nowadays with most people in the modern world physically, because not because it's physical is better, because we are missing the physical. We are missing the action. We sit down and we listen, we read books. Books are not going to make it anymore. They're not going to transform people. They're just going to open the door to the actual work. Then you need to convert it emotionally, then you need to convert it physically, until it becomes unity of transformation. Everything is transformed. And that is the big struggle. First, to watch and to see inside of you. I want and I don't want. There is force acting down from above, coming down below me, and it does not want to do. It wants to stay habitual, comfortable. And then also it's important not to turn this into despair, into depression. There is something in me that represents my desire to go back. That manifests very simply in the only thing that I appreciate in myself and in others. You come back to the practice. You fall every day for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. You're not successful, but you keep coming back. You have periods where you really deteriorate and you move away from the ideas, but you come back. You try one more time. You start fresh, and there are periods where you're doing better, where you're able to let go of your phone or the social media or the bad influences or the anger or the irritation or the jealousy, and you engage with what is really important, what you really are going to remember when you're old. That coming back is that phase that most people in a good scenario would spend their whole lives with. What would it guarantee? That you will not die like any animal dies here without even knowing what it is about. Those people would spend their whole life trying, and it would give them a gift of going away while they failed, but with the huge present of trying all their life to be, to evolve, to transform, to be better. That is a huge gift already. And most of us are going to meet that destiny in all probability. It is enough because that is what we can do. We cannot dictate the effect, the result, but we can make the effort and we are busy with the effort, hence it's enough. If you do that, maybe you will be able to find something else inside the practice, etc. With more and more honesty, with more and more sensitivity, with less and less mechanicality, you're going to transform each time little pieces inside yourself, and you will be different each time, each year, each month, and you would be alive. The gift is huge, and as there is nothing comes close to this. The people are looking for money, people are looking for this, looking for that, or even physical freedom. Like I have the freedom to do all these movements and I can do this, I can do that. This is not freedom. This is the freedom. The freedom to be. This is the highest level. If people understood it, all these rich people or very accomplished people, very intelligent people, great sports people would be looking for this, but it's not conceptualized. So we look for things which are temporary, which are nothing actually. Like when you get them, you realize it, but most people don't even get them. So they end up just keep running after it the whole time. And funny enough, it also serves all these lower layers when you're touching this deep freedom to transform, to become. It gives you also the opportunity to work in many other layers. Maybe not optimally. Maybe you're not going to be the best businessman, but naturally, money is going to come easy to you. Naturally, physical skills are going to come easier to you. Because, of course, it touches everything below it.
Yeah, I feel also people are afraid to lose these things, like the work it thinks that it's complicated not to be attached to, especially coming from certain places, having certain experiences with money, for example, the big one. People have a very weird mentality to it. It's either hoarding or seeing poverty as something virtuous and money is something dirty, when it's just another thing that helps you to be alive. So there is a pathology both ways. People who are only gain money for the sake of money, and people who don't want to make any money because they feel that there's something shameful in it. And this is the thing that I wish more people would understand, that taking these ideas on doesn't mean that you have to give up the earthly pleasures, so to say.
Not at all. This is another track. Whatever I'm going to do here, whatever enlightenment someone has achieved, whatever awakening, you still go to the toilet. But if your concept of evolution, of awakening, of enlightenment does not include that, it excludes that, the fact that excrement is coming out of you, that you touch money, that you can make money, make a living, and charge money and give money away, you are actually not busy with the real thing. You should never be afraid of these things. You should face the fear that money is going to corrupt you. You should face it. And then consciously, you can choose and you can work with it and you can interact with it. So you should watch yourself, like having jealousy, having greed, It's not about the elimination of those things. If you eliminated them, then where is the practice and where is the choice? It is about watching them and continuing to be in life, in the world, but living as a different person. It's like everything else around you, not everything, but most things are black and white, and you're in colors. And you're moving through life in this different way, but you're still in the same movie. You're still drinking, you're still sitting, you're still moving around, you're still going to the toilet. And this is very true for things like money, physical skills, beauty, vanity, anything else. It's not about the elimination, but it's about the reforming of your relationship there. This is also why people that hear the message in workshops or in podcasts like this or conversations, they feel threatened, greatly threatened, as if somebody is going to take something from them, where in reality, only things are being provided. What is being taken is the things that were never there to begin with. But this lack of desire to face them, to see that there was nothing there, that money is just numbers in the bank account or pieces of paper. Not wanting to forget it as you hurled for more money. Or, that a certain status or that a certain, looks are not really important. It's like, then you have this threat, this attack over you by the ideas that are striking you. They say, this is not real. There is nothing there. So you can continue doing everything, powder your nose or put a lipstick on or make money and, be smart about how to do it. But you're not really busy with those things as a setup point. And if one day, for example, there is no more powder or there is no more money, you are exactly as you were. You are free. That's the freedom.
There is a lot of things there to unpack, but I wanted to deviate a bit to the idea of immortality, because it hints that the fact that people live as if they were immortal many times. And we talked about it with the author, Jorge Luis Borges, that you have been lately studying with us a lot, who have been talking about the immortality being a nauseating idea. And if you really pause to think about immortality, this is not something anyone would want. And the fact that we are mortal, that what makes all these things that you're talking about possible, to be in the practice, to not be attached to these unimportant items or behaviors or thoughts or anything that is not conductive towards this evolution. But still, people are so disconnected from death and from pondering on death and from thinking about these issues, as if like Brian Johnson, one guy we talked about yesterday, who doesn't want to die, which for me seems like a fear of death very deeply, fear of your own mortality. But if you really stop to think about it, mortality is what makes life beautiful and worth it, and all this process is possible.
Yeah. No, we don't understand the word immortality because everything is built upon our mortality. Every concept that we constructed immortality from is built on the very basic essence of our mortality. So Borges, he just shows you, you don't even know what immortality means. No, never to talk about yearning for it. You don't yearn for it. You don't even understand what it is, which is ridiculous to try to stay alive. But this is not really different than what we discussed before. Isn't this the action of the downward moving force? The downward moving force is putting us to death. And if that is not acting upon us, how can we make a conscious choice? How can we rise up? By our decision. The downward force is a mechanical force. It ages us until it brings us to death. It's mechanical, it's habitual. You don't need to focus to age. But you need to focus to go towards a different destination. So in this sense, life leads to death and practice leads somewhere else. What does it mean? Well, maybe that is closer to the concept of immortality that we don't know and understand. Not the immortality of the body. This is never going to happen. This is never going to happen. If it happens, the whole game is broken. If you understand that the whole game, the game of physics, the game of biology, the game of the era of time, the game of everything is broken. So God even took it away from themselves. So he does not need to manage that system. He sends his emissaries down here in the form of these laws, and these laws cannot be broken. Because if you break the game, you cannot win the game. So immortality, in the way that most humans think about it, it's totally, by the way, they don't even think about it. They just have a concept of it not dying. This is represented by this nauseating phrase, don't die. Don't die. The practice preaches exactly the opposite. Die, so you can be born the second time. You're born twice. Then this represents a transformation. If you cannot die, a conscious death cannot be born, and there cannot be a real practice in that sense. So that is the transformation of the person, who is different each time because something died, but something else was born as well. The caterpillar changing and becoming the butterfly. That is why that is an ancient symbol and represents something like that. And so there is so much to say about, the real immortality. The immortality that comes from, Levinas talks about in the sense of him. He brings it from the erotic relationships to give birth to the son. What is the son? Your son or daughter is you, but also not you. It carries your genes, but it's not exactly you. It gives an opportunity to continue here, maybe endlessly into immortality, but it's not the same as that you only know here. He takes it as a metaphor, and we can take it into the place of giving birth to something inside of us, to a son inside of ourselves, or to give birth to the moon, as some spiritual traditions talk about. Because the moon is the sun of the earth. Yeah. So all of this is to be examined and to be developed within our practice and our way of being and our way of doing.
To me, the idea of practice and this generalist approach to things, which is similar concept to that of a unity, it is a deeply religious idea to me. And I'm thinking about it a lot, and I have been really looking into different religions, and there were certain schools of thought, like Baha'i religion or the Theological Society, who have come to the conclusion that all religions talk about the same thing. And the idea of unity is every single one of them's central piece that always comes up in any philosophical teaching, that things strive towards unity. That is what makes, to me, this idea of practice in a way a religious idea, but also I'm wary of contaminating it with the word religion because people have a very weird reaction to it. So there is also word faith, which is part of any religion, but it doesn't have to be determined in any way. It doesn't have to be attached to any name of God or line of thinking. But nevertheless, it must be present present in our lives. And I think many people are miserable and they are not able to connect with these concepts, and they're not able to go through with the practice because they don't have faith. And I sometimes even think lately, because this is the idea that I'm entertaining a lot, that most people were better off belonging to an organized religion. Like people would go to church and tie themselves to Christianity or Buddhism or Judaism, etc. Doesn't matter. But the faith, developing the faith without this attachment is very hard, just as it's hard to be in practice. So this is something I wanted you to talk about because it seems like an interesting direction to develop in.
Yeah, it's also a religious idea. Also. But religious idea is not the highest aspect of it. The highest aspect of it is beyond every definition. It's not spiritual. It's not high enough. It's something that we don't have a word for. And I know the perspective that some people would be, nowadays better off with religion and with faith, which is a word we don't understand. It's not, because if we're talking about the faith that most people talk about, then I don't think they're better off with faith, because yeah, maybe it will release certain pressures off of them, certain meaninglessness, but it is using a mechanical contraption, mechanical mechanism, automatic pilot, that they say, I have faith, I don't need to take care of it. This is not faith. This is not the deep sense of faith. So our people would be better off to go to church or the synagogue or mosque, etc. Well, that's where we come from. Most people used to be that. And we moved into a different place. We killed God and we became orphaned, as Nietzsche talks about. And we brought science into the picture. We don't need that. And now we realize we do need something. So we should go back. No. In order to go beyond, you must go through. I don't walk into the tunnel and I see it's dark here. I don't have a light. I go back. Okay, go back to religion. Walk through. This is what we don't do. The word practice is also not good enough, but it at least is open enough and not abused and not under anyone's control, but it is also too vague. For me, it is a deeply religious, spiritual, physical, and otherwise. So I believe that this is the direction, but I refuse to give it one of these prior definitions or categories because I believe they're not powerful enough. Sometimes on the pragmatic level, which is something that you speak about when you're talking about this, you might tell a person, just go to church, just start to frequent church and you will see a good effect, temporarily alleviating this problem or that problem. But in a deeper sense, watching a bit more forward, you would realize it also doesn't go anywhere. In most cases, it can go, but in most cases it doesn't. Because the religion of the masses is a mechanical religion. Because the masses cannot have the real practice. The real practice is a conscious practice where one elevates itself from that downward moving force. That is unique and that is powerful, and that cannot align with the mass religions that we have. Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, Christianity. Jesus was not a Christian. The source of each religion, that was the thing. But then we formalized it for the masses. So it might shift things around a little bit to go to the synagogue, to go to the mosque. But eventually, you would find that you just shifted the pieces on the board, but did not really change something deeply. Even though it's no different than any other action, and many people will have the same problem with a concept like practice, where they turn it into some kind of a scientific, intellectual, modern way, postmodern. And that is another trap that I see with many people who are listening to podcasts and taking pieces of advice and putting it together for some kind of a sensation of like a meaningful life, where actually nothing really is there. Nothing is tied together. Nothing is really transforming or changing. You take this physical practice and you put it with that philosophical approach, and you do it with a few hacks from the biohackers, and you take these supplements and you do this, and nothing is wrong with all these actions. When you have a center, where you have a practice, where you have a way, but we don't. We don't want to have teachers. We don't want to have schools. We don't want to have religions. We don't want to engage with a practice. We have all the practices, so I don't need to choose. That doesn't work.
Yeah, I remember in one of the calls, you used the analogy of building a bicycle that I found really useful to tell people. So you're saying that when you're building the bicycle, you need to find the parts for the bicycle. And most people, they're building the bicycle by they go and grab the car wheel or a car steering wheel or like the brakes from the motorcycle, which are not a bad thing in itself, but it doesn't serve you to build the bicycle. This for me was one of these moments when you realize that, okay, maybe through this analogy, you can explain something to people, but they still will not understand, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's if you understand that you're building a bicycle, your practice is building yourself. You are the bicycle and you're building something. If you understand it, then you will not be confused. And when are you confused? Every day. You go out in search of the bicycle wheels. All of a sudden, you meet someone in the city square that offers you a door of an airplane. Wow, this is a podcast listening. This is another book by some fancy author. This is another conversation in a coffee shop with someone super interesting and cool that has nothing to offer to me when I'm building my bicycle. But when I have a practice, when I work with certain ideas consistently for decades, for a lifetime, when I have a teacher that I've been working with for so long, when I have my students, when I'm engaged with doing something in this meaningful way, I'm not going to get so easily confused. So now you understand why all those years, you're talking about this book or that book, or you recommend me something, and many times I would not engage because it's not relevant to me. And the act of engaging with it takes away something. It takes away what I need to do to build my bicycle. I cannot also build a bicycle and also do this. I know that it's too late. It's later than I think. I need to engage with what is important. I need to do another practice. I need to go back to my practice. I need to read around these concepts and to support the infrastructure. I need to have this conversation, which is meaningful and promoting something. This is not what people do. They might listen to this podcast, and then they would listen to another podcast and another author and another podcast. And in 10 or 20 years, you went nowhere. You just entertained yourself. You've wasted your life away, and the cost is huge. I'm not going to read this book. I know it's a beautiful book, but it has nothing to do with what I'm doing. I don't need to do this practice. Oh, there is a cool practice. Nowadays, people offer me, hey, do you spin the rope? It's a great practice. Great. Good. I'm building a bicycle. I know what I need. I know what I require.
And if we push this analogy further, when you have the practice and have the center, is it possible that you receive this airplane door and you transform it into the bicycle chassis if you know how to do that?
Yeah, you can, but you are now taking the analogy and you're going into some unique exceptions or higher levels. What is more important about this analogy, this is a very simple analogy, overly simplistic, that really offers people that thing of like, okay, I got you, I heard you. But you're right. Later, there are all kinds of weird exceptions because the analogy is like any model, it's wrong. But it can be useful. It can be useful in telling me, I open my iPhone and a clip comes on, a message from a friend with a clip comes on, and I say, I don't watch it. Oh. I came here to the iPhone to send the message to my student that I will be late. That's what I'm doing now. I'll be late, and I close the phone and I go to practice. Or I came to the phone to search for a certain word. Like, for example, the meaning of evolution, because we watched this. I'm building a bicycle. This is the idea. But later there are all kinds of exceptions and things which you're right. It's not, you don't need to look for the bicycle pieces. Sometimes you make them. Sometimes you make them appear. Sometimes, but it's still an understanding of I'm building a bicycle.
In the sense of direction, but
Intentionality.
intentional.
Nowadays, people talk about intentional surfing. Don't surf the web. That's wandering around. You open the phone and you go. No, I surf. I use my phone. I use the internet only intentionally. The same thing, practice. Most people who call themselves practitioners, movement culture, the people around the phenomenon that I was a precursor to, and other places, they are not intentional. It's a collection. They're collectors. This is not what I meant with this idea, and this is not how I live my life. And sometimes it rubs them the wrong way because they feel like, oh, he's denying this, oh, he's not engaging with this. It's enough that you're silent about certain things that it rubs people the wrong way. You don't even need to talk about it. It's not intentional. It's a different thing. This can only be understood when you are engaging with a real practice.
How can you develop the capacity to know that you are collecting the right parts? Because it's so many noise, and one way is having a teacher, which is, for me, a very beautiful relationship that people are missing in their lives lately. But also, how do you develop the capacity to know that a certain idea is worth pursuing, certain practice is worth pursuing?
It comes with time, and it comes with experience, and it comes with all these support structures, a community, a teacher, someone who's walking the path. And slowly it will become clearer and clearer. And we make many mistakes along the way. And really, it's all about this thing of like staying with things. Stay. We talked about it before a lot. Like, I preach stay. People think it's like, stay with me. It's like, no, to the level where you're somewhere, stay there. Don't even come here. I don't want you to come here. I'm good. I'm okay. I'm free. In the sense of like, I don't need you or that money or that, support in my back. I have good wind in my back. That's not the point. You have a teacher, you have a practice, then stay there. You have children, stay with them. You don't have children, you don't need to make any. You can stay there. But stay and cultivate something, and then slowly out of the water will come this capacity to know what's important and what not. When I don't stay, there is an impossibility to develop that capacity because all the time, I am susceptible to the lightest wind and I change my direction. I'm like a leaf out of control in the wind. I'll never have any kind of intentionality or deep development. All of my teachers and me, myself, we spend decades with our teachers, them and me with them. I have like 5 people I consider, like my teachers. Many people want to claim that they're my teachers or this or that. If I met them for 2 days, they want to say that. Or sometimes people do the same with students. I'm Ido's student. I met you for a week in my life. That wouldn't be respectful for someone like you or like Otelia, who we spend decades with, that they call call me their teacher. So when you stay, you start to develop things, you start to cultivate things. When you don't, you have the illusion of developing, but you're shifting a lot of the things around. Staying with a practice. There are practices I've been doing for 30 years. There are practices that I've been doing for 20 years. There are practices that I've been doing for a decade. And there are practices that I've been doing for a week. And maybe I will do them for the next decade. And you don't know. When is it time? When is it not? And you're swimming in this. And this is part of the downward acting force that you don't know. Shall I stop or not? Oh, I'm done with that teacher. Why? I'm bored. Are you really bored because you've already done everything? Or were you not even able to do it yet? Then maybe it's a trap. You have to watch within yourself. Oh, I'm done with this practice. Okay, why? Were you successful? Did you reach the result, the end, the fruit, not the result, the fruit of the practice? Or are you just too weak to continue? It's too repetitive. I also want to have sex every day with a different woman. But I need to watch where is it coming from. Do I really need a different woman? Or I'm going to have the same problem again with a new woman. This is the same across the board. Yet people maintain their relationship in marriage, etc. Most of us are monogamous, etc. But towards a teacher or a school, they don't follow the same principle, where it is exactly the same principle. It is exactly the same idea. But we cultivate a relationship of a customer and a merchant. And then I don't want to buy this anymore. Now I buy something else. Like the exchange of money has anything to do with the teacher-student relationship. No, they're running in parallel. The same way I can say that in the day that I stop having sex with my wife because of X, Y, Z, would be the day that she stops being my wife now. Nobody would say that. It doesn't make sense. Yet, we don't make sense.
I always felt that it hints certain arrogant thinking that you can understand someone's work of lifetime just by going to a weekend event or even a 2 weeks intensive or something. And I had always deep respect to people who stay with teachers. But what I see is often people perceive it as you're in some kind of a sect or a cult when you're staying with a person and you discharge everything else. You say like, no, I'm not going to go to this workshop. And people ask, but why? It's in your town and it's not expensive. Like, but I'm not interested. I'm busy with something else.
I'm building a bicycle.
But for people, this is such a weird concept. And I don't know why exactly I had this relationship to this, always to this idea.
It's not a coincidence. You grew up with a father, with a figure, with a brother, with very specific figures. There is martial arts in your family. You've received and this is seeds inside of you that you're not even aware of, because from the moment that you were born, I grew up in the martial arts as well. So only when I went out into the world, I realized, oh, the world doesn't have this. Like, I want to be with people. I want to be close to people. I want to have students. I want to have my teachers. I don't want to change them. I want to be with them. I want to belong. I want to be part of the tribe. Movement, culture. The idea was like, we need a culture of practice together, or else we're not going to make it by ourselves. So it's in you. That's why it was there, and it was very easily, you could connect to it in all these ways.
There's definitely something to it, I think. And for me, it's so important. Like, promiscuity doesn't bring you happiness. When I was younger, it was the case for me, but now I'm married for 10 years. And I think that there's nothing more beautiful and important in life than having this support. Same with friends. I have friends that I've known for 20 years, and even now the situation doesn't allow us to communicate often even, I still consider them my family. These are the close people. There's no way on earth that I can imagine that I will stop being a friend with this specific person. It didn't happen with everyone I known back when I was younger, but there are certain people that still have this quality. And the same thing with teachers and mentors. When I met you, I felt that there is something that I need to stay. And there was this desire I need to dig. And now after 11 years of this, it's like I'm still scratching the surface, but also I feel that I'm building something internally that allows me also to find my own voice, allows me also to understand things and build something from it, which is what people who don't stay are missing. Because you cannot have this after a year or even 5 years of doing something. You have to go so deep. Like people, when they're writing a PhD, they are studying for, I don't know, 20, 10, 15 years, biology, physics, whatever. And it is normal for everyone that only after such a long time you have developed a fresh idea. But in relationship to movement, it's not the same thing, or in relationship to practice or to this philosophical thing. And I think that because people see it in like physicality, it's really contaminated by fitness and what it sells. And I wonder, how do you communicate it in a way that is not a 2-hour-long podcast so people can connect to it deeply from the beginning?
They cannot connect to it deeply from the beginning. They can connect. It's like climbing a rope. I grab and then I place the next hand and I let go of the first hand and I keep going. But the point is to make this process, to reel them in. And so you meet them where they are. What do you want to do? I want to get stronger. Good, let's do it. What do you want to do? I want to be faster. Good, let's do it. What do you want to do? I feel depressed. I just want to be happy again. Good, let's play. What do you want to do? But then slowly you start to pull them into the deep water where actually, eventually, you drown them. In the sense of something needs to die. So in the beginning, you cannot threaten them with that. But slowly it comes about. And it's not a bad death. It's the greatest gift of this death. The death of all that is not important, that is fake, all the lies inside of us. That's what I do. I always get myself busy with what is possible and what I can do at this moment. And I look at the person and I see that the person does not have the same experience as me of all these years researching this. I'm not going to talk to him on, on combinatorics when he doesn't know simple addition and subtraction. So I start somewhere. And I'm happy that I can start somewhere. Let's do some strength work. Great. I also still do strength work when I need to, put things together. This is beautiful. If I have the pressure, I want to get them deep. I never get them deep. And they feel this pressure and they feel threatened by it and they move away. And I myself will fade. But if I just busy myself, well, let's do what they want to do right now. And let's see next year if they want to do something deeper. And slowly, it starts to happen. And many people would fall off and they would do the strength training side and gravitate towards something else. But it's fine. They were not supposed to be there to begin with. Not in the sense of some grand scheme. They're supposed to be here in the sense of like they didn't have the right components in their life, in who they are, to engage with what we are doing here. It's not for everyone. Like that component of having martial arts, father, teacher, having example of a brother, having, or what you mentioned about friendship, which I view you as a very good friend. It's also something very Russian. The concept of friend, which is another example why Russians are not Europeans. Because this is not the concept that you need in Europe at all. The concept, not for the good better but this is a different concept. It comes from different people. This is a concept of friendship more synonymous with the Middle East in some ways. So they understand. So this gives you the components to connect to a practice as well. You being a friend in that way also enables you to connect to a practice, to be a friend of the practice, a friend of the teacher, a support. So when friction comes between us, when disagreement comes between us, there is a possibility to move beyond it and not to break the chain every time. We get into a fight, we were married, now we are talking through lawyers. It's like, what about all that is behind? not just what is now or what is in front. We in the Western world, we don't see it. Doesn't matter what is behind. Right now, it's over. So do you think you're going to get into some kind of you're going to avoid this with another person, with another practice, with another teacher? It's weak way of doing things, and not really giving us the big gifts that you've mentioned of life, of doing something, of depth.
Can you develop these components in someone who doesn't have them? Is it even possible?
To a certain extent, but other components need to be subcomponents and subcomponents. Maybe I didn't grow up with having this martial arts perspective of having a teacher, but maybe I was a good friend. So I can develop that from that. Maybe I don't have a concept of a friend because I grew as an only child or whatever, but I can develop it from something else. But there is always a need, and there is always a gap that either you can jump over or you can't. As the practice kicks in, you can bridge and jump over incredible gaps. For example, to stop conceptualizing your relationships through opposite sex, same sex, attraction, not attraction. There is a possibility to move beyond it, but we need to develop the freedom to move beyond it. Not to think of yourself as having a certain nation, having a certain, sex, having a certain age. There is a possibility to move beyond it, but it cannot happen immediately. First, you have to be empowered by the practice. So you have to basically climb up a ladder of ideas and components and continue to climb the tree or the rope and make your way through this maze, which is the practice.
To me, an important component of relationships between friends or teacher and student is being honest and giving an honest feedback. And I feel that many people misunderstood this about you. And this is something that I saw from the very beginning, that when you would be getting agitated or angry or upset about me and you would be giving me some really harsh piece of criticism, it is because you feel that I'm not living up to my fullest potential. And you see that I can do better at this moment. And I always really appreciated this. And in my friendships as well, the people who give me this feedback were always the people that I stayed close to. And this is something that many people, because of which they fell off the wagon, because they felt that it's some desire to insult them or to hurt them, or that you're just being a dick for no reason. But from the beginning, I felt that there is this care in you towards people really connecting. And in the last years, you have softened your ways a lot and you're not doing this anymore. But you still do this towards the people who have been there for a long time. And I assume you do it to people who you know that can take it. And something in this seems to me like, okay, when this edge will fall off, then the relationship is over, not when it's all smooth and nice. Because I feel this care in you. And few things I wanted to ask about this. First of all, how did you overcome this agitation when you saw that there are people not living to their fullest? And also just in general about this component of the relationships as feedback, honesty, and criticism.
The agitation doesn't serve. So it was a weakness that had to be overcome, and it was part of my practice. The edge is always there. Sometimes, like I can whisper something and it would cut through and would put a point, or with a look, even without words, you can place it. And the person has nowhere to run. This is the concept. Being squeezed against the corner. Because what do we want to do? We want to avoid the practice. It's all the time we are avoiding the practice. The teacher can help by pinning you down against the corner. And that pinning down is not to humiliate someone or to hurt, and it does not need to be done with agitation. But the pinning down is super important because we have to submit to ourselves, to surrender, I'm not changing it. I saw it. Okay. Then the moment of growth happens. Sometimes people think that they never reach this moment, but it's incorrect. They do reach it many times, but they don't give themselves the credit. Like, I've seen you change a lot of things. And how did that change happen? It's not a total change. Nobody has a total change, but it's a change. There is a change. How did it happen? By having this moment, not once, not twice. If you conceptualize it slowly, you'll be able to locate it and find it better. To surrender and to be able to change your way in that moment, to change your way. So that is the agitation. It did not serve. It was a weakness, and it did not need to be there it was just a way for me to vent off my frustration because of the care. You're right. It is a care. By the way, not always is it a care about them, because them don't matter. The ego, the personality doesn't matter. It was a care about the practice. You're not transforming through the practice.
On a more basic level, if I'm wrong, correct me, what I think you're doing is you're teaching people how to learn, not on the level of practice of more metaphysical ideas of transformation, etc., but through more layer of just an application of a human being to life. And what is the essence of learning? Is it a collection of skills, or is it a single skill in itself that has a very specific qualities? And is it, am I getting it right, that your aim is to make people think critically, to be able to learn by themselves, and to be able also to continue the momentum of development? Still doesn't mean that you don't need a teacher, but it means that you can gain autonomy on practicing when you're by yourself.
It's not the big aim. It's a small aim.
Mm.
You need it. It's a tool. Because if they cannot learn, if they're not autonomous in that sense, they won't be able to traverse the maze, the various mazes. So you have to, on the way, make them self-sufficient and problem solvers and riddlers and all this stuff. So it's definitely a part of the practice. Sometimes when people say, the way that you presented, it's like your aim is, it's not my big aim, but it is definitely an important thing that is happening there. And how do we do that? Well, it's very simple. First, we engage with so many different aspects that you have to develop it. I don't know really how to teach people how to learn. I just know how to facilitate the environment which will make them that person. And that is by tackling endless tasks, different spaces of practice, some of them more defined, some of them less defined, having to go through readings of materials, struggle with concepts and ideas, practice their legs, their shoulder blades, their arms, their head, their vision, practice emotion under emotional loads, take them into adventures. Use all this so they can never get rest. As my teacher says, there is no parking spot in the world of phenomenon. There is no parking spot. You gotta stay on the bicycle. You gotta keep the motor running, and you become that person capable of doing all of this. This is what essentially we do in the day-to-day, because you're all the time unpacking things. Can you do a chin-up? No. Okay. Here is the practice. Work. You got a chin-up? Good. Doesn't matter the chin-up anymore. Can you do a handstand? Okay. This is the physical side. Then it goes beyond the physical, of course. It's easy to achieve a one-arm handstand in relation to other things. It's not so easy. It takes many years of dedication and practice, but it's relatively easy compared to learning how to box, which is a never always changing skill that is much more alive each time you pass this, you grow from it. And you have the ability to learn by yourself, to change your posture. Truly, the organization of your body physically is even more difficult than doing Roxy. So you're kind of like moving through this thing, and to change yourself, your personality, your ego is even more difficult than that. And you need each one of those steps. You need that because they inform something, and it gives you the ability to solve the next problem. The next problem is not going to be this problem only plus one. It's going to be a different problem. You need all your references. You need all the struggle. And this is why we engage in the practice in the way that we engage with the practice.
To close this, I wanted to ask you about something a little bit more vague. I don't know if it's a right word. I don't know why I used it. But talk to me about why and how you found Jorge Luis Borges. And what is the line of thinking that you have when you're bringing this into our lives, also as your students, and how it touched you, when it touched you, and just a little bit about it, because it's something very unique, I feel, that you have brought about.
Every time you bring something new, it's unique, and people, oh, where did this come from? And then maybe they copy or, or they engage or not. Well, I don't try to surprise people. I don't try to be unique, to be original. This is not the point. It comes from an understanding of what we need and what we cannot get. Borges is for me such a tool. He's not just another author. I'm going to bring, Kipling, I'm going to bring Dostoevsky, and now I bring Borges. Borges is not just an author. Borges represents a practice, another mode of a practice. And those texts, when you are a practitioner, it was very clear to me. This is a practice. This is another mode of practice. And then naturally I used it. When you read those texts and you work through them in the ways that we do in events, it gives another mode of unpacking. So that was the reason. It touched me immediately. It was clear to me. And then I wanted to bring it for the benefit of people. And tomorrow we will bring another practice that is, again, would be unique and interesting and new. What we mostly know is collectors. Most of our teachers and practitioners are collectors. So we don't know this intention of what is needed and serving what is needed. That's why it looks like an immaculate conception. Looks like magic. Oh, you're a movement teacher. Why did you bring, texts by Borges all of a sudden? But if you understand the intention, the needs, then it's clear where it comes from and what will be the next piece. I am really not a slave to anything like movement culture, movement practice. This serves me. This serves the higher thing, which is undefined. We don't even have a word for it. It's even beyond the word practice. And I want to stay focused towards that. But if I'm a fitness practitioner, if I'm a movement teacher, if I'm the owner and the developer of movement culture, then I'm not going to bring a Jorge Luis Borges stories into my events or into my own practice. But I am not bound by that. That does not interest me. I am free from all those definitions. I'm free from much more deeper definitions than that, in the sense that I don't busy myself with that. And then I can do what I want. And thankfully, I have good people like you who are willing to entertain the possibility of maybe there is something here, and then you have an audience for it as well. My audience is becoming smaller and smaller in the world because, of course, the deeper and deeper you go, the smaller and smaller the audience. It has to happen. I cannot hold on to the same size of crowds interested in doing ring work and, handstands. And, I was precursor to a lot of that as well, bringing that into the general public, teaching people how to do gymnastic strength and hand balancing. And I didn't want to be enslaved by that. It's like, where is my own development? Where is the development of people? I used it and I'll still use it for my benefit and for the benefit of the grander concepts. And so let's see what comes next.
Yeah, remember you talked about it 15 years ago in your interviews, that at some point you will go smaller and smaller and smaller. And many of the things that you are teaching now, you were talking about back then, but it, as you said, enters one ear and exits the other, unfortunately for most people. But those of us who are clinging to the message, it's not a good word also clinging, but hearing the message and trying to work through it, are really grateful for it, because it gives to our life something very powerful, and it makes you an autonomous agent, a person who can learn and who can develop. And I see it in my life and in life of the people that I can help also now. And I'm really grateful for that. And as always, I want to thank you for the work you're doing and for having time again to sit and to talk. Hopefully it will serve people well. And maybe another one day.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank you.
much love.